tell a warts and all story, and that we weren't going to pull any punches, and that was very important to me. There's been other Creem projects over the years that have been a little bit revisionist history or not quite hit the nail on the head, so it was very important to us that, that we took a different path, and I think we accomplished that.
What sort of discussions did you guys have early on about the sort of the voice of the film and the tone and the way the story would be framed?
I mean, I had been working on an outline for a while that I sent to JJ early on, but I think to JJ's credit, I said to him at the very beginning, like, what's off limits? Is there anything off limits? Because we need to tell this story honestly and as truthfully, and JJ said, words and all, and he said nothing's off limits.
Except the pictures of me naked as a baby. Those were off limits.
Well, yeah, we duked it out over that a little bit, but that might make it into the DVD extras.
So some of that great vintage footage that we saw tonight, did you always have that on? Did you know that existed? Was it just sitting there waiting to be tapped into?
There was some of the footage that we had seen before, but there was a good chunk of it that was actually uncovered in an unmarked box in my mom's basement. I just happened to be rummaging through some stuff down there and came across a box with a bunch of old videotapes in it and thought to myself, well, this looks old. Maybe there's something cool in here. And that's how we got some of the great footage of Lester and Sue and Robert Duncan in the Birmingham offices.
What is your own particular theory? I think there are a lot of them that float about why Detroit became such an explosive music town in the 60s and 70s. Why did so much great stuff and groundbreaking stuff come out of here?
Well, we could talk about it for a real long time. I'm trying to think of a short answer. I think it's a combination of having people from really disparate cultures, not just from the country, but from all over the world coming here after World War II. To find work, and the nature of the situation we were all in, which is that it was a one-industry town. I don't remember ever seeing a limousine when I was a little kid. There might have been one parked out at the airport, but there was really no point in driving around like that. Everybody's fate, everyone's fate was in the same hands of the auto companies and the economic success of that. And I think that leads to a really honest, unpretentious culture. And because of all the cultures that we're here, is a really rich culture too. And I think that's where all the great music comes from.
So Margaret, can you talk a little bit about the role of women in Creem, what we saw chronicled here in Creem history, and in terms of the actual process of the making of the film itself?
Oh, sure. It was actually the emergence of the women in the narrative that really drew me to the film. Well, firstly, my husband Wayne was in the film and he scored the film, but when Scott initially and Jan approached Wayne about being interviewed, he did not hesitate to agree because he had so much to share on the subject. And, a lot of times people who are in this film get asked to be interviewed on topics that they have just a limited knowledge of, and they don't really add that much passion to the story. And in this case, Wayne jumped at it because he realized that the story had been untold, and he wanted to make sure some things were sort of burned in amber after all this time. So that was my initial interaction, and the first time I met JJ and really started to understand the family of the Creamers outside of the publication. So when I started to watch the Rough Assembly with Wayne in it, I realized the narrative was going to become much richer for the emergence of these powerful women who really, even to this moment, are not explored yet. That this thing called Creem Magazine in a city called Detroit, where things were made. And, I mean, I come from Youngstown, Ohio, and when I was a child, Creem to me was magic. I had older brothers who would leave it on their dressers and upset my old country Lebanese parents, and were like, what, what's it? Like the film said, it was like, might as well have been Playboy, and it was rock and roll personified. So for this thing to come out of Detroit where all you did was make things, it was like the Holy Land to me, and the 10-year difference between my older brothers and me was, it was a world of life lived. So at 8 rather than 18, I was like, this is really dangerous. So for me to be involved in the film as a producer and to help this come to shape was monumental, because I have yet to find a publication about pop culture that was secretly run by women, these powerhouses to my right, who were the drivers behind the men who essentially are known for paying the bills at the magazine. And I'm so proud to be part of the emergence of that story. And I'd also like to just note that J.J. Kramer is not only the son of Barry, he's also the son of Connie. So let's talk about that incredible passion there. And, the dysfunction of the Kramer family is as fascinating to me as the dysfunction of the family that is this family of editors. And I really harped on that in my notes, probably to the point of upset to our production team. But I kind of really felt like we are at a time where women who are my age, who are making decisions about film and making decisions about music and making decisions on the quad and making decisions in Congress, feel like we've got to find the root of this. And they were risk takers. I mean, what they wrote was enough to get them in trouble then, really to get them in trouble now. And that in and of itself is a bit chilling to me, that 50 years on, we're still discussing it. But wow, what a risk they took. And I love them for it. So.